Silence your phones, please, so that it won't interrupt the meeting. We have a bunch of extra chairs by Mr. Herman's. Whoever needs one, just grab one, or anybody can help. The ladies here would appreciate it. Thank you. It's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock on June 24th, and we're calling to order the Board of Directors meeting. We have a quorum. If we could please all stand for a moment of silence. For the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
How to say the first line.
Two things before we go through the regular order. I'd like to add Unit 3 to the agenda. And we just need if everyone is okay with that. I'm okay with have an official vote. And we've invited Randy this morning to talk with us or to give us information on the pool, filling the pool, that type of thing. Would you mind coming up?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is also a time, if you have any concerns about the water, anything issues, we have the water expert here from MUD. So please feel free to ask him any questions you have.
Let me address y'all real quick. We're pumping between 400 and 600,000 gallons a day, which is the equivalent to 2 days of drinking water to fill the pool. We're feeding 3 pounds of chlorine, 100% gas chlorine is what we use for our disinfectant. There is no residue or carry-on after it's dissipated, it is gone. And our well levels are about 12 feet. So I'll entertain any questions anybody has.
Is that normal for this time of year? When do you
Actually, our well levels were a lot lower this time, but I think we were already in a contingency plan last year by this time. So yeah, our wells are stronger, a lot stronger this year than they were last year.
Now, the well you're talking about is our drinking water well,
Yes.
correct? Not the spring, which is those apples and oranges.
Yes, the spring and the wells do not have any issue with each other. They completely work different. The well is 900 and something feet. The spring is probably 30 feet deep. So, you know, when you fill the pool with the wells, you're actually taking off the aquifer rather than surface water. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all have any questions?
Just one, could you repeat the very last thing? We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Okay.
Maybe use the microphone.
I thought I had a big enough mouth I didn't have to do that. Okay, I'll run through it again. We're pumping between 400 and 600,000 gallons a day, which is the equivalent of 2 days of drinking water is what it would take to fill the pool. We're feeding 3 pounds of chlorine a day, 100% gas chlorine. It's not a chloramine. It doesn't have any residue. Over time, the chlorine dissipates and it's gone. It's safe to spill into the creek. Our well levels are at about 12 to 13 feet. They're probably 10 or 11 feet higher than they were last year at this time. So MUD's wells will support the pool.
And you said, can you repeat about the spring is at 30 feet?
Yeah, the spring and the wells don't really have anything to do with each other because the spring is more of a surface water. The well's 900 feet deep. So when you pump water off the wells, it doesn't really make an impact off the spring as if you were pumping water off the spring into the pool. So the surface water effect by using the wells doesn't affect the spring, or not a direct impact anyway.
Do you know if the city of Breckenridge affects the school?
When they're doing bulk sales and stuff, maybe. but they haven't been doing it like a construction project like that in a while. But I believe so, when the solar farm thing was being constructed and stuff like that, yeah, it probably did have an impact on the spring. But I don't think they have a construction project going on like that right now. Yes, ma'am?
So, this is Suzanne May. So going forward, like if you were to give us a forecast on our water supply, do you think the water supply is healthy and it's gonna last for 20, 50, 100, 1,000 years? Or
I believe the recreational water around here is probably going to see the same effects it's seen over the last few years. What this, basically the whole state needs is flood. The reservoirs are down, everybody's going into contingency plans every summer. And I think until we get a decent flood, this is going to continue probably every summer until we get some really heavy rainfall.
and our groundwater supply?
Our wells
Our
are
wells, our
wells are
drainage system
900,
is fine.
regardless of how the surface water looks around here, our wells are not going to go dry, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Do we need to be restricting watering?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right now we're at 12 feet, we go into a contingency plan at 25 feet. And actually, other than last year, I've been at MUD 24 years, last year is the first time we've ever rolled into our contingency plan. Other than last year, the deepest I'd seen our wells was 17 feet. Last year, they had gotten down to about 36 feet. But mind you, the pump sets at about 180 feet, so you're not gonna run out of drinking water. Sir?
How's the service lines throughout the fort, like your water supplies? I noticed you guys have been doing a lot of repairs throughout the fort.
The ground is very unstable right now, so yeah, there's a lot of shifting in the ground. Over the last 2 years, we've really had a lot of leaks. The good thing about it is we've had kind of a high leak rate. So when the drought came along, water leaks started to, the ground here is very porous. So the surface, when they have leaks, they don't surface. They just go into the ground. But the last couple of years with the drought, yeah, a lot of our leaks have started surfacing and made it able for us to find them and fix them.
Has it exceeded your budget, or has it been below your budget at least?
Our
maintenance, at least your maintenance efficiency.
MUD's budget is strong.
Okay.
Randy, we haven't decided yet, but we're all praying that it rains this week. If we need to purchase water this coming weekend, is that going to be an issue for MUD?
No, not at all.
You have water to sell us.
If it was going to be an issue, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
So
you do have water to sell us. It's coming for the 4th of July weekend.
I believe MUD's wells will support the pool. Yeah, whether it be this weekend or even if it, I hope it rains before Labor Day, but I personally would like to see the pool open for the holidays. I know the fort has people come down here just for the holidays, and especially 4th of July. 4th of July is a big one. And John and I was talking yesterday, you say 2 or 3 days, I think we could probably get 6 or 7 out of it if we get together and go about it right. There's ways we can make the water last longer. And I'd like to get Phil up and see, how we can go about this. One idea I do have is the pump that pumps into the spillway to drain the pool. If we were to bust that flange and turn that thing to spill into the pool, I'm sorry, can everybody hear me? If we were to bust that flange and turn that thing so it would spill into the pool, then we could use like a regular home pool shock, HTH chlorine and stuff like that. And we can monitor it, so when it comes time to drain the pool, we can make sure that the chlorine is completely dissipated and whatnot before we drain the pool.
So you're talking about recirculating?
Yes, ma'am. I'm talking about doing some, like your home pool, shock, HTH chlorine and stuff like that, and maybe a couple portable pumps just to circulate the water. And I would like to do that like in the evenings and at night and stuff when nobody's in the pool.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Have any of us on this board at any time, because a lot of that's kind of the first time I've heard you say some of that stuff.
Nobody else would have it.
Have we coerced or asked you to, or convinced or persuaded, or any other word you could use, any of the ideas that you just said?
No, that strictly off me and my coworker. We've suggested this to the membership or to the board in the past, ways that we could carry on rather than use 1 million gallons to fill the pool and get 3 or 4 days out of it, rather than if we could fill the pool and hopefully get 2 weeks. It would really be a trial and error, but I'm sure we could get more than 2 or 3 days out of it.
Okay. Thank you, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
There's more questions, Randy.
Ma'am?
So if we were to try the recirculating option for the pool, would we be able to keep the the disinfection levels up the way they're supposed to be according to the state?
On the
Of
pool?
regs?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I believe so. I have a pool at home, 4 foot by 18 foot. I change the water in my pool twice a year. So, if we looked at it like a pool in your backyard and treated it like a pool in your backyard, then I think we could get a longer span of time out of the use of it.
So my concern is then we become a public pool meeting the regulations of a public pool.
Well, I don't think we're gonna try to keep it open long enough to be a public pool. I'm just saying we can get more than 3 or 4 days. We could probably get a week, maybe 2 weeks, just to make it worth the 1 million gallons that we're putting in the pool.
We conserve.
Sir,
What has been the reason why we haven't converted that way?
I can answer that.
I don't have that answer.
Because of irrigation. Okay, so every single company that I've called has said, are you open to us putting in plumbing in the pool? And of course, the answer is absolutely not, right? It's a historical pool. We can't go punching holes in the ground and disturbing everything and putting all this stuff in there. Anything has to be external and portable, which means that it would have to sit on the bank of the pool, run in the pool, and pipes would have to go, each way and whatever, circulate and filter all the water. So it's not, that's why it's been a challenge to get somebody to come, to commit to going, yeah, we'll give you a bid to making it like a swimming pool in a portable fashion because of that. Because of the lack of knowledge, I think, of outside of maybe an engineering firm to develop something that's atypical to a standard swimming pool. It's 100% possible, it's just atypical.
Have you had an engineer come out and actually?
No, we have not.
Never gotten that far.
All that, we just hadn't gotten that far because all that, it's going to cost money to do that, and we've got lots of other fires to put out at the moment.
mind you, sir, that this hasn't happened in this area up here since the 50s. And what's going on with the spring and the recreational water around here didn't just happen last year or the year before last. It's happened over like the last 5 or 6 years. We've been in extreme drought here for a long time. And like I said earlier, until we get some kind of flood or minor flood or significant amount of rain, this is going to continue to happen every summer.
Guys, just one more thing I wanted to say. Because I think the pool and the spring flow is really important. But one of the things, so I went back and after the last meeting we had, I went back and I read public pool definition in the state regs. And it has all the things that a public pool is and what they do. And then we get down to the very end of the definition, which is like this paragraph this thick. And it says, the term public pool does not include a residential pool, artificial swimming lagoon, flotation system or chamber, or a body of water that continuously recirculates water from a spring. That to me is a direct, probably influence of Barton Springs, San Marcos Springs, plus more springs. But the springs and the Edward Aquifer, I think that's where the influence for that came from, because that's how Barton Springs and San Marcos Springs and our spring, that's how the swimming pools function. So I just want to say, we've been really fortunate to have that as the way that we can operate our swimming pool. And I just would say that if we, and I think that the consideration, like this gentleman was talking about, thinking about converting it to a regular, recirculating, chlorinated swimming pool is certainly something that we ought to think about if we know enough about the spring to know whether the spring is going to continue to dry up every year, or if this is just like you're saying, we're in this drought period, so 3 years from now we'll wonder what we're worrying about. But I just think it would be useful for us to think about those options. But my concern is if we decide to convert the pool to public pool look for temporary periods of time, we just need to make sure we're protecting ourselves and the people that are in it, and maintaining the disinfection levels, and then trying to make sure we're, skirting through the regulations. My only suggestion.
Ms. Maynard, regarding that, I just want to clear up this situation. I invited Randy up here because I know there's always concerns regarding the water, and he is the person who has a lot of our answers. This is just coffee talk. This is just coffee talk, and
we haven't gotten a meeting yet.
what runs out of here and ends up on a yellow journalism newspaper, it's another thing. So it's just coffee talk. That's all it is right now. There are no plans to convert it into a regular pool or anything else. So it was not even on our agenda. So just an FYI. My other thing, Randy, last meeting there was an issue of, and I can't pronounce the word correctly. It sounds like chloramine. Can you clear that up, please?
Chloramine is a chlorine similar product that is used in cleaning products like Clorox and stuff like that. And so chloramine is actually a lot different than actually 100% chlorine. And just algae thrives in heat, chlorine dissipates in heat. So, you know, a factor of, you know, is there going to be too much chlorine? No, there's not going to be too much chlorine. The objective would be to keep the chlorine content high enough to keep the pool open and safe. And then when that pool gets to that point, then we'll get together and say, how do we want to continue the pool, or do we want to close it? Or do y'all want to close it? That's y'all's decision. My take is I'd like to see the pool, and I'm sure my board agrees with me, that we would like to see the pool open for the 4th of July weekend and get the best out of it that we can.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks so much, Randy.
Any specific questions about chloramine, please? This is the time to ask. Go ahead, Ms. Elba.
No, I was just saying that to be legal, we need to clean the chlorine out of the water before we introduce it.
We will make sure the chlorine has completely dissipated before we drain the pool. Ma'am?
Yeah, Wendy, I really appreciate your information, and I don't know if people here know that they can attend MUD meetings and when they are, and even questions and answers can be done there as well. And could you tell us when those are, and can you also kind of share a little bit about what your background is? Because I know there's people watching online too that may or may not know that. And I just
as far as the pool's concerned, we really don't discuss the swimming pool too much in our meetings because it's not ours. It's part of the association stuff. But the membership is always welcome to come to MUD's meetings. It's the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 9 o'clock in the morning. As far as my background, I've obtained my water and wastewater license in 1990. I've been with MUD for 24 years. I was the utility supervisor for the city of Brackettville for 9 years before I came over to MUD. I don't know what to say. I have my grade C groundwater treatment license, my grade C wastewater treatment license, and my plumber's inspector's endorsement. So that's my background.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, Randy, for future reference, anybody can call you or go to MUD and ask you questions.
My door is always open. If you have any issues of MUD, and you don't want to wait to the meeting, come to the MUD. My door is always open. I'll be glad to visit with anybody at any time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Garland?
The reason I came to the meeting was because of the water issue. I know you and I have both attended the meetings that they talked about in the paper. SWAT forms a non-profit to support mobility initiatives concerning the springs. And I attended every meeting. And it's my opinion that you can't regulate to savor Baltimore Springs is what they're putting forward. The only thing that's going to save the springs is rain. And they want to create and reform the regulations on the users of the aquifer that feeds their springs.
Well, but that's not we're not having that discussion this morning.
That is actually a groundwater district.
That's groundwater.
Have you gone to their meetings?
Yes.
Have you gone to their meetings?
I've been to every meeting.
Okay, good.
And my impression is, and the reason I bring it up, it's not on the agenda, and I apologize for that, and I apologize for my looks. But the bottom line is, folks, we can't regulate the Sabre Springs, and the only regulations that I am brainstorming in my mind is to benefit the people that form this thing. And any initiatives they come out with, I don't think will benefit the Ford at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Very
Thank
appreciative
you.
for your time.
All right. Approval of board minutes. Has everybody got a chance to go over The minutes?
Yes, I
Do we
have.
have a motion?
I'm making a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
Second the motion to approve minutes.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, we have no correspondence, so no secretary's report. Treasurer's report. We're holding steady on the motel, around 30,000 in revenue. We are also way up on, we're at 239% increase on the RV park due to the solar workers and things like that. So normally we're around 13,000 and we're at 30,000 this month, which is really good. The total in all our accounts is $563,825. Hold on one second. Our net income for May is $135,078, which is way up for us, but included in that is the lot sales so far for May, which is $57,000. And we also had collections of over 3,300, so, I mean 6,300, so that made a big difference. And I have one other thing here. I think I need preservation. You need preservation? And I think I have this.
Here it is.
Thank you. I have it in my file. And the total in the preservation account is $35,089.90. So that is all I have this morning. Do you have any questions? All right, since we are, of course, without a GM, we're just going to have a quick report from the board of, what's been happening in the past month. Let me start. John's going to talk a little bit about the golf course superintendent.
Okay, Julie and I got together and interviewed 5 people yesterday for golf course superintendent, and I think we both feel the same. It's very enlightening, and no decisions have been made, but we will discuss today amongst all of us in executive session all the candidates and all the notes that Julie and I both made, and try to come to a decision.
Thank you. I have an update on the audit. I think we're ready to go. It's just a matter of signing a contract to have the audit done for 2022, and a discussion on whether we do 22 and 23 at the same time. Let's see, and Julie has an announcement to make.
Everybody hold your hat down.
Hold your hat.
Drum rolls, please.
Hi everyone. Several months ago, Kelly Kep from Allstate, he does our accident, critical illness, and cancer policies, came to me and asked if I ever heard of the ERC retention credit. I looked at him and said, Kelly, anything to do with taxes? I usually don't pay attention unless I have to. He laughed and said, well, you might want to pay attention to this. He gave me the information and said if you have employees who work during certain quarters, the last couple of years during COVID, you may qualify up to $26,000 per employee. We then went to Mr. Pearson. He explained what the ERC was and what we would need to do to get this. The board approved $2,600 to start up to let Jones and Associates see what they could do for us. Cindy gathered a lot of documents needed for this while Mr. Pearson and I did research on it. The more we learned, the more we understood that we possibly could get a lot of money back from the IRS. The Employee Retention Credit is a fully refundable tax credit that eligible employers claim against certain employment taxes. It is not a loan and does not have to be paid back. The time period between March 12, 2020 and before January 1st, 2022. Eligibility and credit amount varied depending on when the business impacts occurred. The ERC is not available to individuals, unfortunately. We qualified because we experienced the required decline in gross receipts during the eligibility periods during the third and fourth quarter of 2020 and the first 3 quarters of 2021. To be eligible, employers had to pay qualified wages to claim the credit. We did not close down, nor did we have any layoff during the time of COVID. Although we came close, we were able to receive, ready? $652,000 minus, though, we had to pay Jordan's and Associates, and that was $113,893. But we added back in the $2,600 that we paid. So our total, and it left us $697,758.80. This will help with a lot of much needed projects and equipment needed. So please, thank the employees who worked through COVID and covered each other while they were sick, because without them, this wouldn't have happened.
Right? So obviously there's going to be a lot of discussion going on as to those funds. So stay tuned. Let's see. As you know, we have a second board vacancy, and a dispatch was put out. That position is 8 months. It goes until this next election, and people have until July 10th to submit. So we encourage anybody that is considering. This is a good time to see if being a board member is a fit, because it's 8 months, not 3 years. So it could be a trial run. So anybody, you know, that would be interested, please submit your name. Do you want to talk about the bailiff?
Okay, they won't be part of her composition, or just accurate? Okay. This week, I'm not sure if y'all paid attention to Fort Clark lot owners, but because of Helena McBride and her hard work, we finally got the baler. It's now installed, ready to go inside the recycle center. The investment, Helena, correct me if I'm wrong, was probably close to $15,000. Most of that was covered by a grant and some other monies, and the Ford invested, I believe, $1,000 total for the electrical system. Is that correct, Helena?
No.
Okay. Close. Am I close?
No.
Well, when you give your report, you can correct it.
Yeah.
Either way, we have a baler, and now we're fast and furious to get a cover over there for the stuff that we're going to bale. And I sure would encourage everyone to participate in the recycle. People say, well, I don't collect enough. A single person can collect a lot with just aluminum cans and plastic, and you can bring it once a month. In my household, it's once a week I take it to the recycle center. So I would encourage everyone to participate in that. And one person is solely responsible pretty much for that whole thing happening, and that's Helena McBride. On her time, volunteer, she has showed having a lot of power and not being on this board. Thank you, Helena.
Just real quickly, we are still looking at a director of communications, and hopefully we'll be looking through those applications and making a decision soon. The GM search is still on. It's out on the major job sites, newspapers, and that type of thing. So we've cast a wide net to see what we can find. 2 other things real quick. The Arbor. Thanks to Linda O'Brien and Jacqueline, they, in this heat, have had the energy to, I don't know if anybody noticed that the tile has been done. Linda coordinated that, and they're working on we won't be finished till October, but they're working on getting a lot done before the 4th of July in the Arbor to get it spruced up. So just to let people know what's going on. And then just a quick thing on the fishing.
Yesterday, we had a meeting with all the managers so that we can kind of grasp any of the problems and move forward. And Matt brought up a really interesting question, which kind of prompts us to talk about the Vision Traction Organizer, which was it's basically just a structural goal sheet in order to have goals for employees and upper management at the port moving forward over the next 5 years. And I think actually 10 years. But, you know, Matt brought up a good point. He's like, hey, how do we execute this without a general manager? And so we thought maybe it'd be important to tell y'all, bring some of that to light, in that when we created that, it was created with the entire board and Mr. Peterson. And while we would love to achieve 100% of that, and we might be able to, we weren't met with a lot of disagreement with all of the manager team yesterday, but we just want to let everybody know that this is our top priority to move forward with these items and to try to achieve this for the fort. And we're hoping that, you know, the appointment of more board members and obviously a GM we will continue to move forward with the Traction Vision Organizer. And I asked specifically, a lot of these people in the management team have been here for over 20 years. And I specifically asked them, in the last 20 years, has any board ever built any structural goals for the fort? And unequivocally their answer was no. So it's very important to us. I think it's very important to every board member, including the two that have resigned. And I believe it was very important to Mr. Peterson. And so we want to continue that and try to be able to pass something down to the next board that they can follow. And we will try to meet it to the highest percentage that we possibly can. And is it available, Julie, if people want to come by and pick it up, or has it been on dispatch?
It's been on dispatch,
Okay.
but I can have some extra copies of it at the front on Monday.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, committee reports. Airport, no report from airport. Architecture.
Since your last meeting, we have approved 5 permits, reviewed several repair notifications, and sent out more violation letters and second letters. We have visited with some people who received violation letters and helped them resolve their issues.
Hold it, stop please. We got some music going on.
Richard Moore has been nominated as Vice President, replacing Mallory Ratliff, and we hope to have a quorum this week so we can vote on this nomination. We are working on a variance request that will be presented next month. We have divided up the CCNRs among committee members to start working on revisions. This will be an ongoing project and will be presented to the board in a workshop and then to each unit. We are amending the fine schedule that we just approved. We discovered we can make each level of violation 30 days rather than 45 days. And so we're making that change. We'll make the amendment and file it with the courthouse after 2 readings and a vote. We still need people to come on the committee and help us out. We meet every Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the boardroom, and we would love to have you come observe our meetings and see if you would be interested in joining us.
Thank you. Golf.
Okay, it's a short one. The golf course committee donated $600 for machine parts. The golf course committee also assisted with the BYSCO, which is Brackettville Youth Sports Civic Organization, which was held on June 10th. Katie Brown.
Preservation.
No report. They
No
didn't
report.
meet.
Oh, they didn't meet, okay. Recycling. Now you can correct me.
All right, well, here's the good news. We shipped in mid-May 48 boxes and 7 bales of plastic. So it takes Keep Texas Recycling 2 months to send us a check. So I'm expecting that pretty soon. So that's a good thing. June 7th, the maintenance department sent off 46 bales of cardboard. That's going to be $52.50 per ton. So we should do pretty good. Again, it takes them 2 months to send us a check when we ship. So that's great. And as Memo said, we got the baler in. That was paid. I'm going to tell you what the money was. I got 1,000 from Rio Grande Electric, and plus 9,500 from Coca-Cola Southwest Beverages. So that's the Coca-Cola grant really is what paid for the baler. The baler, shipment, installation, and wires to go around bales cost us $9,035. So cost me $480 for the electric. I hired an electrician, certified electrician here to do the wiring. What the Ford had to pay was Rio Grande Electric charged $40 to put the meter on the pole. So that was the only expense.
So we got off light.
Yeah, we did. I think so. I have about 800 plus left, and we're going to need some of that for supplies. Joel Ackness is, you know, we've got 4 by 4 by 4 boxes that are full, and the question is, how do you pick up this box and dump it into the baler so it would be compacted? So Joe is going to buy some lumber and make some kind of a box with a chute to be able to take the forklift and dump it in. But that's an issue we're trying to figure out, but that's what Joe came up with. So we'll need some of that money for lumber and whatnot. And by the way, all of this has been tax-free, thanks to Community Council. So that's fabulous, because I use the 501c3 IRS to be able to do that. So I give the money to Community Council, and they write a check so that I could hand it off to when we buy stuff. So let's see, what else? The next question is, what are we going to do with the bales once we build them? If it's paper, the maintenance people are still going to do the cardboard bales. We're going to do the plastic and everything else that we could do. And so you don't want to get the bales wet, especially if it's paper. We do collect office paper. And so we need some kind of a covering for the bales. So that's the next issue. We looked up a couple of options. Prior to this thought, I spoke with Mr. Peterson. He didn't like the idea of a storage container, so we were looking at the internet for buildings, and the cheapest one we could find was $16,000. The other option that one of our men thought up was to attach it to the recycle center and buy roofing and metal sides, and that cost about $5,000, but we'd have to build it ourselves. You know, ask for volunteers, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where we are, and we hope the board can help us out with that problem. I also, from 2016 to 2022, I just provided the board here with numbers, and our profit over those 5 years was $21,000. So that was, I mean, given that we gave all of that to the general fund, we're thinking that the board is going to help us build something so we can cover those bills. So,
We will figure out something, yes.
yes, I know you will.
Well, and
happy.
this also, it really benefits the landfill too, so it affects
Yes.
everybody. The more
Yeah.
that we recycle, the less goes in the landfill.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really true. I don't know how many people are living here this summer, but, we're sweating and we're working and we need more people to, to come and bring them. Thursday, 4 to 6, Saturday, 8:30 to noon. So we collect number 1 and number 2 plastic, which is water bottles, pretty much. All those numbers, by the way, are on the bottom of anything you buy usually. Aluminum cans, we encourage drinking. We do collect a lot
Responsibly.
of soda, but mainly we're looking, there's plenty of beer that's being drunk here. So that's aluminum. We also collect steel cans, like from vegetables. And number 2 plastic is usually the milk cartons. People use vinegar, so that's also. And detergent bottles, colored plastic of description. Mixed paper is what we get most of, which is unbelievable because we get zero money for it. But we usually get 3 boxes every, I don't know how often. And that's cereal boxes and telephone books and newspapers and even hardcover books get thrown in there. And since we had so much, we got our baler Tuesday. Thursday, we were throwing mixed paper in. So we'll probably have a bale of it probably takes 2.5 boxes of mixed paper to make a bale, which is like 500 pounds. So we were throwing all this mixed paper in, and we probably are going to make a bale by today. So it's been amazing.
Elena.
Thank you, Elena.
A special thanks to Bob Boucher for helping us out, get the baler in. Joe Alagnus, who coordinated a lot of the work. Dennis Knipper, who also helped us. Special thanks to Steve Woods, who brought his forklift from across the highway, brought it over here to unload the baler. That saved us about almost $500 or close to that. And Mr. John Williams, all recycle volunteers. They're doing an outstanding service to our community. Thanks to them.
Yeah, and the other, I don't have a list right here, but, I guess I have probably 20 people that work.
But those are the people that help with the baler.
Yeah.
And then, Helena, just to clarify here, so everybody knows, I didn't know this, since 2016, there's been almost 600,000 pounds of recyclable material kept out of the landfill. And so that's a lot more than $21,000. That's awesome.
Thank you, Helena.
Thank you.
Lost Morris Restoration Project.
Where's that here?
Okay. All right, this is from Chris Hale. We are nearing completion of a number of different projects, most importantly repair of the planter boxes and rebuild of the bathrooms, which are now handicap accessible for the first time ever. There are still a few things left to do with the bathrooms, such as finish the exterior painting, install lights and exhaust fans, and install urinal one side only. He'll get in the next week or two another spreadsheet that details expenditures for each of these projects. The barbecue pit and some other adjacent stone has been repaired. Important remaining projects: repairs to ladders, change the pump apparatus to remove the sidewalk blockage, and make sidewalk changes depending on how FCSA determines is acceptable for improving disability access to the pool. Finally, there are 2 topics that are still being scrutinized: changes to try and protect against muddy runoff into the pool area, and deciding on proper length for the vintage pool poles that are solar and dark sky certified.
Thanks. And recreation is on hiatus?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no report from the ad hoc committee, and that leaves solar eclipse.
On June 22nd, we had our first committee meeting attended by 11 people and presented where we are at this time. We have met with the school superintendent and agreed to have Bob Bowley, an astronomer friend of mine, present 3 preparatory sessions to 3 different age groups on the morning of the eclipse to prepare the kids for what they can expect to have happen to the atmosphere and what they need to look for. He will also be making a presentation for people on the fort on Sunday afternoon. We also ordered eclipse glasses for the students and staff with Bracket ISD and will be reimbursed by the school district. And we've ordered glasses to be sold on Fort Browns. We have activities planned for the weekend and for the day of the eclipse. We're looking for more activity ideas, so anybody has any ideas, please let us know. We have set prices for staying on Fort grounds, and entrance will be very limited. Henry Garcia is trying to set up a meeting with us, Sheriff Coe, Border Patrol, the mayor, and Superintendent Diaz. We will know more about what Bracketville is planning after that meeting. Henry Garcia is expecting 8,000 people. That may be a little low. That could be low. Other sites along the path of totality are starting to advertise, and we need to get started and advertise that we will be the first in the U.S. to get it.
And community council.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Community Council did not meet in May due to lack of a quorum. April minutes will be presented as corrected at the next meeting, which is September the 9th of 2023. This leads me into not part of the report, but if we had this kind of attendance at community council meetings, life would be like, I think it would be a lot easier and more productive for all of us. When I moved here, I didn't know that I automatically became a member of community council. In fact, the first community council meeting I went to, I was handed a piece of paper and a pencil, and they were voting on something. And I said, but I didn't join. And they said, oh, yes, you did. So I see community council as an adjunct to the board of directors. We're partners in what's happening. And I don't know, it just feels like over the last few years it's become at times adversarial. And I'm hoping that that can change, like now.
Done.
I think it has been changing. Our unfinished business for community council, we are waiting for the board response to our request for a memorandum of understanding regarding Fort Clark Days, which was presented to the board at the May board meeting. So we're waiting for that. Bathroom repairs in the commissary building. We are waiting for the hiring of a new GM who will hopefully coordinate maintenance personnel and volunteers. We have everything we need. We have the volunteers, we have the money. We're just waiting to be able to put that together. We did form the Eclipse 2024 committee, which was approved by unanimous vote. The committee will be co-chaired by Francis and Christina Bitters, and we had our initial meeting June the 21st. This committee will also be facilitating events for the November 14th, 2023 eclipse. 2024 is their primary, but 2023 gives us a chance to try out some of the ideas. And really for the fort, I don't know that Rock Springs has a lot of housing. They have some motels. We have a few. But I don't know where people are going to I don't know where people will stay to participate in the 2024. So Community Council, by way of this report, submits a formal request that the Fort Clark Springs Board of Directors address and facilitate striping of Fort roads, including but not limited to Fort Clark and Scales Road. This issue needs immediate attention. There have been many discussions regarding the entities having jurisdiction over Fort roads. However, the members are quite frankly tired of discussions and want the safety and well-being of members and guests to be a priority. Stripes are not barriers and cannot restrain a vehicle, but at least the driver will know where they're supposed to be driving. Please don't wait until someone is killed or seriously injured to fix this ongoing problem. Part of the discussion is who owns the roads and who can do this, and we're just appealing to you to let this come to fruition as soon as possible. Thank you.
Barbara, real quick, a big thank you for Community Council purchasing the new theater seating.
Thank you.
That is a huge, big win.
We're gonna have an adjunct to the
Okay,
community,
great.
but it's all really Christina and a bunch of volunteers. So I think this might be the first public announcement of what happened.
Oh,
Anything else?
No.
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
okay, I guess I can get up and
Just
clarify a few.
real quick.
I'll do the Fort Clark days and everything. The theater seat purchase was actually not just community council. The Old Prairie Society and
Okay.
Historical all went in together. So we have to thank everybody for jumping on it. It was a very quick deal, and I don't know how we made it happen, but we did.
And
thank
Gracie's
you.
Fines gave a
Yes, we got an
Yes,
amazing deal. We had so much volunteer help getting them here. I've never seen something come together so quickly and so well. So now we do have historical, correct seating to put back into the theater when we have a grand plan, but it's currently in the commissary. It needs some work for any volunteers that want to clean some seats. We will gladly take your help. So after that, the Eclipse Committee, just to clarify, the board had already approved forming. Community Council generously took us under their umbrella. So now we can operate under their 501c, and they gave us startup money. So thank you, Community Council. Fort Clark Days, planning is going along great. We don't start meeting again yet, but we are still looking for a food chair for anybody. We've had interest, but if anybody wants to commit, we still need you. And we applied for an AEP Foundation grant for $5,000, so hopefully I think we have 45 days to wait patiently for that. So those are my updates.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right.
Corey, good?
Did I forget that?
Oh, no, the email, okay. So now we go to the email votes. We had an email vote on the courtyard here to get the tile installed. They're in the process of buying like a solar floating fountain.
It's in there.
Oh, was it in there?
That's the fountain, that's the fountain that's functioning, it is the new one.
Oh, I didn't look when I came in.
Yes.
Sorry. We'll also be painting the metal furniture. I don't know if all the flowers are planted all together yet. Fairy lights, which haven't been ordered yet.
Don't order them, we need them.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the board approved up to $2,000 for all that work to be done. The tile alone was $1,260, but we already had the tile. So the rest that needs to be done can be covered under that.
Right, except for we need stone. That's something that wasn't in that. We had about $1,000 for gravel and yeah, and maybe we have the paper, Jacqueline, that goes underneath the gravel. We're trying to grab it from everywhere we can find it. So, and I don't know exactly what that gravel's going to cost, but $1,000 was floated. It might be $1,500, but you'll be the first to know.
How many square feet are you talking about?
I'm sorry, what? police were kind of involved in this, you know, so we don't have a lot of information.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes, yes, but
All
it's
right.
gonna be beautiful, and we're looking maybe around the end of September, the 1st of October, because July's kind of out of the picture with vacations, and it's too hot anyway, but we're gonna go at it. You can see all the washing has been done.
Yeah, no, it's looking great out there, and it'll be nice to
100%
have it
improvement.
finished, yeah.
The tile
Thank you.
looks beautiful.
Yes.
The tile is beautiful. All right. Discussion items. We moved that. We moved the vision track, so item 1 was in the report. Item 2, pool prices. I know we're a little late on that. Yes, ma'am?
Is our memorandum of understanding not voted,
We need further discussion.
Well, I don't know if it was it on the agenda last month or just given to us? Okay. So,
It's not a discussion item.
no, we will add it as, well, we'll be discussing it before the next, and add it to the next
Yeah, let's just
agenda.
get those before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Can I just add one more quickie? If anybody wants Mexican petunias, there's a whole bunch of them out here. Dig them up soon, because they're gonna go bye-bye. But there are some nice plants out there, so help yourself.
We're losing the Mexican petunia.
Well, you can find another place.
Could they be transplanted to the planter boxes at the pool?
Yes,
Yep.
that's what, they were doing that, so it would be nice if they were all down there.
Well,
Awesome, yeah.
we just need to get them out of here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, for the pool, our current prices are, member guest, Kenny County residents, RV park guest, tent camping, motel, 13 and up $5, 12 and under $3. Member grandkids, 17 and under $2, non-residents and non-Kenny County, $7 for 13 and up and 12 and under for $5. We're looking at a couple of different options or variations. One would be 13 and up $5 for member guest, RV park guest, tent, motel, not Kenny County, 13 and up 5, 12 and under 3, member grandkids, 17 and under 2, Kenny County residents, $7 for 13 and up, 12 and under $5, non-residents, 13 and up $10, 12 and under $7. Or we could go with something lower or less. It's a lot of different age groups to try to keep track of. We could say for member guest, RV park guest, tent camping, motel, all ages 5 or 3. Children under 3 free. Member and grandkids 17 and under 3. Children under 3 free. Kenny County residents, all ages $7 or $5, depending on what we decide. Children under 3 free. Non-residents $10 or $7 depending. Children under 3 free. And so, discussion.
I think we should help out the membership a little bit and get it down to $3 and $2 for the grandkids as well. Bring that price down.
I'm concerned that the staff is gonna feel like they have to be a Philadelphia lawyer to figure all this out when they roll up.
Right.
That's my concern.
That's where they are right now.
Yeah. And I, for me personally, I believe that as a member, a lot owner or an FRM, there should be a bigger discount than for somebody coming off the street. So, and it's not against bracket or anything else, but as a member of the Ford, that should be less than somebody that comes in from Kenny County, which is why we, like to break that out just by a couple dollars. I mean, it is our pool, and so that was one of the suggestions.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we have people, tenants at the pool. How long is this current price has been in place?
Last year, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago? And this, and I'm not familiar with whether it went up or down or whatever, so 2 years ago it went up,
Yeah.
do we know? I don't know, where did it go, Julie, you know?
I think we were,
It might have been $3, so we'll have to
I
buy.
think it was, yeah,
And I don't think we used to split out between 13, I think it was just under 18
yeah, it
previously.
was. And then the motel in RV park, I don't think they charge, I think it's in their fee that they pay for the motel in RV park. I don't think they pay extra.
Okay, and that was, because that was the list that Sherry gave me, that they were charging them.
Nathan, RV park, they don't charge for the pool, right? Oh, they do charge for them? Okay, never mind.
Maybe the motel was the only one that got.
Maybe, yeah, I thought it was RV park.
I think the
Yeah, this
motel
was
guys,
just going off of Sherry's list, so they may be charging that at the,
I think the
Yeah.
motel guys shouldn't pay. I mean, if they're staying here at the motel, they should have access to the pool.
And I think they were supposed to.
Yeah. If that's not the case, it should be the case.
For a comparable, Barton Springs, their highest charge is $9 for non-resident adults, and resident adults $5.
Barton Springs?
Barton Springs. So there's, hadn't gotten there yet, but I can look. So for a big city,
I think when they raised these prices, they went by Belmore, I think they went by what they were charging at the time too.
Right now, I'm in favor for members guests, $3, for members grandkids, $2, Kinney County residents, $5, and non-residents of Fort Park, $7, which will be this column right here.
Balmer is $7 for adults, children 12 and under are free.
Okay, so 7.
But it's also subsidized by the state.
Yeah.
That helps.
yeah.
It's not really comparable.
I
And
agree
state
with
parks
Bill.
don't make
I
money.
think you gotta identify what's the issue, and I think the issue is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had quite a few people that were upset that they were member guests, and they were going down there, whether they were a non-dependent or whatever, they were going down there and having to pay X amount of dollars, and they didn't sound like it was fair. I'm with Memo, I agree with him. I think just, the residents, Kinney County, RV park guests, tent camping, motel, whatever the actual details are on that, maybe, they need to pay maybe the premium rate, but the member guests do not need to pay. The members are already paying the rate. So don't make them pay a premium rate that, $2 or $3 sounds fair. I mean, you can't even get a soda for $2 anymore, so.
Mr. Wiley, could you consider the fact that some of the elderly people here are not financially well off, and maybe their grandchildren would be $1 apiece? Is that too little?
That's what it was in our rules and regs,
$1.
$1. I mean, that's been there for a long time.
Well, you know what, just open it up to who in here has grandchildren that can relate to that has something to say about it.
I am a renter, and I have to pay what someone off the street pays for $5 to go swimming, and I don't think that's right. I'm a member in good standing, and I think that renters ought to be addressed.
Okay. So renters have to pay $5.
Yes.
It'll be $3 now.
Charlene?
It will reduce it.
I'm a great-grandmother of 9, and when they come to visit, that would be a little expensive for me. Could you give us a price like they do at SeaWorld and different, you buy a year's pass or summer's pass?
It's a good idea.
And that way then, because they want to go swimming every day when they come. And that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, it does.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and my thought was, and I didn't put that on here, was if we can set a price that's reasonable for this year and start sooner next year, having a discussion about a pass for grandkids, for members, and that type of thing for next year. So, I mean, we could drop it down to $1.
Well, I think it's important to note that we had 985 people last time, and I think it only generated $1,435 if my mind is correct.
That's correct.
And, I mean, we're not talking about a lot of money here, you know. And I think it's also important to note that kind of what you're saying about having 9 grandchildren, I think it gets lost a little bit in this community that we're up here trying to make a lot of money for the fort. And while that's exactly true to a certain extent, all of the money that gets generated up here is supposed to go into the membership, okay? So we're already paying for the amenities to be here. That's in our doctrine, okay? It's in our original articles of incorporation. It's already supposed to go back into the membership. The idea that, for instance, we pay $600 to get water for the pool, well, that's already been paid. It's paid by every single member that's on the fort, and it should be expected, right? Because all your home values, all of your taxes, all of it revolves around the fact that we all share this community property that, as a board, we're all trying to keep intact, right, and make sure it's sustainable. So I think in the perfect world, we would charge nobody to go to the pool, but I'm certainly for keeping it as low as possible within reason. I mean, I think it's got to be more just cover the tenants, you know, the people who are having to be down there. How do we try to compensate for that, you know, and kind of look at it through that lens instead of a lens of we need to make money off the pool, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and we didn't touch on the children 3 and under.
Yeah, I have no problem that being free, absolutely. I mean, they probably don't even get in the water at 3 or under, really, you know. So.
Could I ask
They do.
do we have any idea how many of these grandkids show up every summer? Because I'm thinking, don't even charge them, you know, I mean, how many grandkids are we talking about?
I don't know if that's been tracked, so I don't think I could say.
It'd be a lot simpler not to charge grandkids.
What is the current usage of the pool for payers?
Like,
How many people are now currently paying? Do you have any statistics on that?
Yeah, I'm sure you give it to us.
Because if we don't know how many are doing it, it may be.
but we don't have it broken out by like grandchild, you know, prices like that. We do have it. If I can find it.
By membership guests
By
and,
membership guests.
and non-residents.
How many people currently are using the pool? For instance, Memorial Weekend. I asked the girls at the booth how many were coming, and they said they were very busy, but a teenager or whoever's working there may be a complete different attitude than what mine is.
Well,
Busy is.
The pool is very underused.
we exceeded 900 people during Memorial Day weekend.
But and on an average since then, because I was doing the numbers and I can't find my sheet last night, we're averaging about 100 a day if you average out the weekend. So it's less during the week and then more on the weekend, not including a holiday. So that's where.
Are you counting like the wristbands? They could do that very easily to let you know.
Well, she gave me a count
Yeah.
for the last couple of weeks. I just can't find it, but I know when I did the average, it was around 100 a day. 56 to 100 during the week, and then 150 depending, or higher, 300 if, you know, there was something going on.
That's total people that show up to the pool.
Yes.
It's an average. Do we need to make a motion?
Well, we're still.
Okay.
Well, I can put that in perspective of the amount of money we spend on the golf course, which is $100,000 a year. And I'm concerned that why is it the pool has to be profitable or break even? The golf course does. The golf course is an amenity, right? The pool, of course, is a draw here also. It's an amenity. Yeah, I don't see why the residents or the grandkids have to pay anything.
Well, the residents don't have to. It's they consider grandchildren in our documents. Grandchildren are considered guests.
Guests.
Because they're not part of the household.
But we can change that, right?
We can
We can
change the
raise it,
fee
you probably
schedule.
raise it.
Yeah, and that's
So
what
we
we're
raise it, we can
discussing.
lower it.
Yeah,
When you
Yep.
say the residents, you mean the member residents,
yes,
not renters.
yes.
Well, and to be fair,
In perspective, you know, I just want to put that in perspective, comparing the golf course to the pool. Both of them are amenities that draw people here to want to visit the pool, right?
Yep.
So why such a focus on the pool and no focus on the golf course?
you mean just in revenue that costs to keep it going?
I'm talking about the dollars.
The fees.
That the residents pour into each of these amenities.
Sure.
Keep in mind exactly what you're
And,
talking about.
right, and to be, just so that everybody has all the data points, it's still, for a member to go play, I believe it's $25. So, I mean, a member can't play at the golf course for free.
Right, but I, who don't play golf course, pay
Sure.
$125 a year so that you can play golf, you got your golf.
Sure, right.
I pay that. There's $100,000 there that the golf course is not covering.
Right.
The pool is close to break even, we're making money.
No.
I'm not sure it
It's
ever
not
broke
tracked
even.
that
It would be
way,
hard to track it
would
that
be
way
hard to track
because
that.
you've got all your maintenance, your daily maintenance, then
Mowing.
you've got your weekly maintenance of draining the pool, cleaning, all that stuff.
Is it losing $100,000?
Well, probably
depends.
not. I think the course loses like, I believe it's 80. Obviously, we need to change that.
Right, we go through all these various
Right.
calculations and justifications. But I think in terms of the dollar amounts that the grandkids are bringing in, I think you're talking about a de minimis amount.
You're correct.
Not even worth a discussion here. I have 3 grandkids, they've never been here, and I don't know if they'll ever come. So it's not, to me, it's not financially significant, but I don't think it's significant.
I'm inclined to agree with you, yes.
I think it should be included in your amenities, because when I was a landowner or property owner, that was the only amenity I used. I didn't go to the golf course and my grandkids would come. We could not charge for the grandkids and issue reusable armbands. You know, the grandparents could come up to the office and say, I've got 6 grandkids, and they were issued that. So then that would cover any time the grandkids came for that year, you know, change colors each year, but have it be a reusable band.
Yeah. There is a question about, because there are people here that have grandkids that live in Brackett or, you know. So are we talking about out of
No, I'm
state
talking
coming
about
to stay?
I'm talking about members.
Well, there are members here that have grandkids in Bracketville.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That, I'm just
Okay, and
asking
to me,
the
it
question.
doesn't matter where my grandkids live, they're my grandkids.
I got you.
We're probably literally talking about such a small amount of money. We've already wasted that much time talking about it.
Well, you know, we can try it. If it doesn't work, then we won't do it again, right? So we're talking about 3 and under free, $3 for members, guests, free for grandchildren. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
What about renters?
Also should be free.
My owners live in California, they will never use any amenity on the fort. And so I pay my rent regularly, so actually I'm kind of helping pay the amenities, but I still have to pay $3 or $5 to use the pool. I just don't think that's fair. And I realize not all owners live out of state, you know, and there are some on the fort. I realize that, of rental properties, but.
I mean, it sounds like this is going to take a little more thought than we can probably do for today. What if just an idea. What if we have moratorium on, we suspend, just hypothetical here, what if we suspend renter and/or grandchildren, member guests still have to pay, and non-residents have to pay, and we table the rest of it, and we try to figure out a better plan. I didn't think about renters. Jason, it seemed like I read something about some of your,
Yeah, I
you're
mean, you know,
having a lot of
renters.
having a lot of renters and having a lot of lots, but
and I can't
you're
use
only
it.
able to use one membership, and I understand that.
And also maybe consider people that might live with their parents, because when I lived with my mom full-time,
Because you're not a dependent anymore.
but I'm still, I would say
Yeah.
part of the household technically, if you're living inside the fort, registered in the office as a full-time resident here, then, you know.
Sounds like we gotta give it a little more thought than just having a fee schedule.
I think we got to.
This has been an issue for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, one of the things I would say is, so when, you know, when we as a member choose to rent property, then, you know, there's that whole form, I don't know if you all have actually read that form for, you know, that we're all supposed to have when we have a renter in here, but that form basically says that you as the member and the owner of the property, you're responsible for everything that renter does. If that renter does anything, you know, that's in contravention of the, or, you know, we're not supposed to do it here, then it comes back to the owner. So, it seems like there's a lot, we've got a lot of control in place here because that is something that we're all supposed to have our tenants fill out, and they agree to those conditions, and then we as an owner who chooses to rent our property, then we take on that responsibility.
Correct.
And so we're essentially being responsible for the behavior of that person, and I think, you know, to me, that's not like, I don't know, maybe it didn't seem like it's if I was gonna be a landlord in Houston, that just seems like a really different circumstance to being a landlord in an HOA situation. So, I think that, I mean, from my perspective, I think renters being able to have, because the renter's not even supposed to go to the trails. You know, they're not supposed to go to the trail. They can't do anything except go to their little rental house back and forth. They're not supposed to be doing anything. And I think that's crazy.
I think the original intent of that, this is what I believe, as an owner of the property here, is that an owner has more at stake. We're actually stakeholders because we're owners of the property. And I'm thinking that was the thinking back then in regards to establishing these price or these rules. That doesn't mean that we can't be flexible, but in reality is members take priority. They're the number one. We're supposed to be looking out for the members. The members are even allowed to vote for us. Renters can't even vote for us. So then we go into one thing or we're going to go into other things. So I'm of the belief that we probably just need to, we might not even be able to fill the pool as of next week after 4th of July, the way it's going. So I'm not sure there's a need to be a hurry to make a decision regarding these prices at this moment.
Well, I think we probably can for the, what did you say, suspend for?
Yeah, like suspend grandkids and
leave and do
renters
3,
until
5, and 7.
Yeah, and suspend, because I mean renters isn't even technically on here. It would be member guest per se, but you know, suspend the renters and grandchildren, and then let's table it and put more thought into this and try to get over it. And like what Mim was saying, we don't have to decide it in a month or in a week. It can be done in a couple months as we talk about this and get more feedback from some of the people like Jason or Wanda that rent, and just get some one of those data points where we can make a good decision. But, you know.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Sandy.
We lived in the RV park for 3 years. So we're renters. Well, we got a family recreation membership, and that's how we use the trails and the pool and everything else. Is that being promoted to renters that they can do that?
They can, but the owners, you're still charging me $96.50 a month on every single lot, on every single property. But those amenities are not being able to be used by anyone. Now, if someone rented their place and moved out of state or something, then maybe they give their pool rights to the renter because they don't live. Now, I'm not trying to double up or anything, I'm just saying, but all landlords are
I mean,
kind of
it's
getting.
definitely a discussion for the
Two
future.
separate issues, the RV park and the rental units, because the rental units are residences and the fee is being charged for the residents. The RV park, all you're paying is a monthly rent. Swap, there's no assessment being put to the floor. So I think they're separate.
Yeah. So we'll table that portion of it.
I was just going to remind people that, yes, members are first. Renters pay their money directly to our member, like he does with their pays, assessments, or whatever, but they're not contributing, like she said, particularly for it. Volunteer work, maybe so. But if we're going to try and push FRMs with our future plans, then these are the people we're going to have to sell them to. So if you're not a member, the FRM is out there for you, and then you have rights to all the
Yeah, that's your point, Sandy. And we talked about FRMs yesterday and making some changes to that so we could get them going in the right direction.
All right, so do we have a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to suspend member grandchildren and renters, and to table making any decisions on changing any of these prices until we can come to a better consensus.
So, this, or are we gonna put them like this? This is what it is. This one is 12.
Right, that's 13 and up, 12 and up, and then
But if we go with this, so we have to.
that's 7 and 5. So what is, this has gone up 2 and that's gone up 3 for non-residents from here, right? That's the same, this is canceled.
No, this is.
Oh, so that went up,
If we do that, it's either or. It's either this.
because that's defined as ages. Good God, yeah, that's confusing.
So if we do this, this is not.
Okay, all right, let me restate the motion. I will, what, Mel?
He had a question.
Yes, sir.
I had a comment. We started out talking about rental fee, or not rental fees, but pool fees, and kind of trying to solve world peace here. And one of the comments that was just made that I support is that we need to probably do some more research and take a look at things like the FRMs. If we start excusing the renters now, we take away an incentive for them to look at an FRM, particularly if you adjust the fee schedule there. I would encourage the board to look at perhaps just taking care of the grandchildren and the initial fee schedule we talked about, and not try to solve the whole piece today.
Well, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think we got to remember that an FRM covers, we'll call it trails, golf course, pool. It covers every amenity. We're just talking about swimming. That might only be available for another, I mean, if we filled it for 4th of July and Labor Day, we'd be talking about, Labor Day or Memorial Day? Labor Day, we'd be talking about like 7 or 8 days total altogether. I mean, even if 100 people came each day, we'd be talking about $200 or $300 over the course of the next 2 or 3 months. Like it's just a small amount of money. I see what you're saying, Curtis. I get it. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but yeah, world peace is what we do, okay?
Well, and we're just suspending it until we can do further research. It's not like this is the way it's, okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to suspend charging grandchildren and renters until a consensus can be made, and sticking with option 2 on our list here of member guests will stay the same at $5 and $3. Children under, oh, sorry, member guest is $3. Kenny County residents, all ages, is $5, and non-residents is $7, and children under 3 are free.
Wait a second.
I'm gonna add an addendum to it, that this sunsets after Labor Day.
Say again?
that it sunsets, it goes away, this, whatever we agreed, it goes away after Labor Day.
Okay.
And I make the second motion for that.
All in favor? Motion passes. That did. Item number 3, filling the pool for the 4th of July.
Discuss
Boy.
that. We've already had that. We've had a lot of that discussion. Is there any other further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
So I went down to the pool on Friday with my family after a funeral, and nowhere did it say cash only, so I only had a credit card. I went to the shack and they didn't have a square, so I called Sherry to ask if the motel would take my credit card for $5. They wouldn't do it because they didn't have the necessary line item to fee it out. So I asked where an ATM machine was on property, whether it was at the bar or at the hotel. Don't have one. So then, after going back and forth, because my wallet's down there, I'm trying to figure out if anybody has cash. Meanwhile, there's like 30 people that have been there. I'm trying to find out the closest ATM starts. By then, I've already gone an hour and a half to try to figure this out. I just gave up. And didn't get to spend time with my family, which is also part of the tribe here, and it was Juneteenth weekend. And so that was kind of problematic. I mean, my family was disappointed the next morning they left. I was disappointed and deflated the fact that I couldn't be with my family. And there was no solution. I mean, the next day, family came in for another funeral, and we could have doubled up then. I mean, there was no solution or what.
All right, well, we'll definitely look into that process to see how we can fix that.
I mean, if so,
Going forward.
we should have some signage or tell people, you know, cash or, because most people, to be honest, we don't carry cash. And let's be honest, here in King County, the bank and stripes ATM is not always working. So we should minimally have square, especially at the guard shack, or some, at the hotel, should have a line item in direct, so that you can track that as well.
We'll, like I said, we'll look into it, and I'm sure there's a solution that just hasn't, it just wasn't thought of, and I apologize that it was such a difficult.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I mean, what do you?
I guess, well, are we going to do it?
Okay, so after hearing Randy talk, maybe we need some questions, you know, in order to stir conversation. After hearing Randy speak about the pool and what he is willing to do, and being our resident expert on water, the water that we all trust to drink, does anybody have any concerns that they would like to discuss about filling the pool for 4th of July and the parameters that might be set forth?
I am Leslie Jones. For the new people who are here, have been a resident for over 25 years. I've been using the pool because I have arthritis in my back, and it helps. But I live in the desert, and I do not approve, this is my personal opinion, of spending any money other than the water coming freely out of the springs. Water is going to be the next thing nationally, because everybody wants some.
We need it.
I feel that we are in the desert. If the spring cannot flow through this, provide water, I do not approve of paying anything to buy it, because it's two different things. His entity is selling us water, I would like to see it from the springs. I can forego swimming. We are not, we should not be a nation of, I want something right now, which is happening. I don't know how else to explain it. I thought there were more people than 100 a day using the pool. I really did. And I had played golf for a long time and enjoyed it, but I can't do that anymore. I still want the golf course. It's an amenity. And you're talking about getting people to come. The more we tack on, and to me, this discussion is so stupid, because if we can't provide for our guests, then I think we just need to quit at all. I don't know how else to explain it. But please, I do not approve of paying for, unless somebody privately wants to do it, and as a generous thing for the poor, then that would be okay. But to come out of the general fund, I do not approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's a drop in the bucket. $600. We just got
Well,
700 grand.
But the thing,
Come on.
no. I have heard this for 25 years. I've heard. All right,
When
let's.
we buy the water, we're buying the water from ourselves. Because as the residents,
Yeah.
we're talking about a district, we own the district, we don't run it.
We shouldn't have to do it.
I think, so, just so that I'm clear, because I really want to understand where you're coming from, and I'm not 100% sure. You're not referencing the fact that Randy is talking, we're not talking about safety, we're not talking about the level of the water. You're just specifically talking about not spending the money?
Yes, I just don't think that we should have to spend the money. And truly, we do own the money. We're paying for it. I don't know who paid, if the money, I never did find out, even after asking lots of my friends here, where the money came from to pay for the Memorial Day weekend.
It was paid for by the people that swam. All of the tenants were paid for, and the $600 came out of the $1,435 that was paid, that was generated from the weekend.
Okay.
So it ended up like, we were hoping to make some money, right, and be able to maybe broadcast that, but that it was almost a dead break even.
Yeah, well, and that respect I can understand, but I think that we need to consider all of it.
Well, I think
It's a net.
you know, it wasn't very long ago I was sitting right where you're sitting, and then now sitting here and dealing with a general manager leaving, and then having to see probably a lot more things than I would have normally ever seen, because it would have truly been the day-to-day operation stuff that we shouldn't be having to deal with right now. You know, we had a flat tire the other day that cost $500. You know, on the trash truck. We had a mechanic come out to look at the trash truck. It was $960.
$1,600.
No,
$900.
It was $900. We had a mechanic come out to just look at the backhoe. It was $1,600. He changed the filter. It still doesn't work. So when you start really seeing where money goes in this association, and not that there's anything, not that it's being mismanaged, I wouldn't even want to insinuate that, but it costs a lot of money to keep everything around here going, and we have a lot of money to spend. We don't have lawnmowers right now. They're going to cost a lot of money to get, and our trash truck is down. And we were just talking about this yesterday with Philip, that it's taking 129 man hours to pick up trash right now, whereas it usually takes 49. Well, think about what the impact is to that on the membership. So, to kind of echo what Jason is saying, spending $600 that potentially can be covered by the member, the guests that come here, non-resident, resident, whatever, the guests and people that use the, use the pool, that it can be covered. And we'll just say that 70% of it's covered. It would be.
You see, that never was, number one, and you may blame me, I do not use Facebook. I just don't, because everything I hear about it is always negative, and I'm not a negative person. I really am not.
I'm not far from you.
And so consequently, everybody thinks that I should know everything because of all of this Facebook stuff.
We reported it in the last board meeting. That's where we released it.
Well, and I apologize, it's my problem. During the winter time, I belong to Daughters of the American Revolution, and we happen to have our meetings on the same time that you have board meetings. So I can't attend. I can only come June, July, and August. I may only do this one because I'm concerned about the pool. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any concerns or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Have we thought about trying to negotiate with MUD? MUD makes a lot of money on us as home residents buying water, blah, blah, blah.
I was going to comment to that. When it came up that we might have to buy, I asked Randy, because, I mean, I have expensive taste, so I look for a bargain all the time. And I think, I know Marie's not still here, but we do have a, wait, Steve. We do have a MUD.
You can't run away now.
He's a MUD board member.
We do have a MUD board member. The way that I understood it, talking to Randy, is their fees had already been set for the year, including what the fort could potentially be charged to fill it. So there wasn't anything that could be done right now. But maybe if we go to the MUD meetings and before their fees are set for next year, now that this could be a continual issue, and try to work with them to come up with a plan for they do give us a crazy discount on what they charge us to fill it. I mean, pennies on the dollar. But maybe they could give it to us.
It's a circular cash flow.
Yeah.
So they take $600, and then next year they put it in their budget. So that lowers the charges, the fees they're going to charge us. So it's just a circular flow.
I know. But it might make people that are concerned about the $600.
Well, but let's not forget that also too, that Randy is the one that goes down there and does the work himself. And so it's not like, you know, when you go turn the water on at your house, it's read off of your meter. So it is they are going out of their way to put the water in the pool. And then not once did we hear Randy stand up here and say that he was going to charge us to monitor and chlorinate the pool or anything like that. He didn't say that. And I'm just going to assume, and of course we know what that could make me, but I'm going to assume that he's going to do that probably on a volunteer status because he's trying to make sure that there's water in the pool for the weekend or for the holiday.
It's just something we should take into consideration at some point, that this might be an annual thing now, coming at least for the 3 big holidays, and how can we work it out with them so it works for
I think if this becomes an annual thing, I mean, if this becomes what's day in and day out, how it's going to be, we have to find a permanent solution that can be mobile. We can remove it when it's necessary and put it back down there. You know, put it down there when it's necessary and remove it when it's not.
But not a discussion for today.
No, sorry.
Yes, sir.
So, it's my understanding that you're only going to throw it up for the 4th of July and Labor Day, not any other time, you run dry. And my statement to the community here is, we have a water problem in Candy County, and we're trying to regulate it, and regulate it kind of like regulating the guns that the criminals have. The bottom line is, every time we buy 1 million gallons of water from their well that serves the household, we're using water that you can't take a bath with or stuff like that. If this drop continues, we may not even be able to buy 1 million gallons of water from that.
No, that's not what he said.
Garland, that was.
Let me call it to order, please.
Randy said we're fine.
Right now, I'm
No,
talking
he
about
said
in
we're
the
fine
future.
into the future. Well, he said we're fine into the future.
Steve, that's on the same.
Steve?
Okay, we're getting back to the $600. That's about half of what it would normally cost. So, one can negotiate. I'm not saying that's why I was leaving, but that kind of got me a little bit. shouldn't pass, but I think we need to turn things over because I want you to know that we're on your side. And sometimes we get a lot of pot shots at the mud board, and I kind of sit here and bite my lip a little bit, but I was glad that we did have Randy here because we don't let him run them up. We have a fairly tight rein on him, but we'll do everything we can, if we can, to help the fort when it comes to these monies or to wanting to give help to get things done.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I actually have to go to the bathroom.
Thank you for sharing, Steve.
John, do you want to make a motion?
Well, I think I'd like to some parameters. So I don't know that I'm comfortable agreeing exactly. Okay, so I just want to keep this conversation going. You know, there's a lot of tension about this issue, and I want everybody to understand, you know, I mean, show of hands, how many people in here use the pool regularly? So we're probably running about 30%, 35%. Okay, I haven't been to the pool. Memo, can you tell me, Christina, can you tell me, what would you say is more of your average age group? Or, I mean, is it mostly kids? Is it mostly wife and kids? Who's using the pool right now?
Mainly families.
Families?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say.
So these decisions are not fun, and they're not decisions that any of us want to make, and we don't take them lightly. And I think everybody needs to really understand that, because it's easy to sit out there, and I know that because I was just out there. It's easy to sit out there and throw rocks at us, but we really think about these decisions and try to make the best that we can, decisions that we can make. I'm going to go against Randy saying that this can last for 2 weeks. I'm not willing to do that. And I'm not willing to even do a week. And I did a bunch of research on this. There is some issues that could arise from this. I think they can mostly be mitigated, but I do not agree they can be mitigated past. I'm not willing to go past 4 days. I wrote down the dates here. July 1st is Saturday. When is the fireworks show?
The 4th.
Okay. And that's even if we can have it currently right now, we're probably not going to have it. But we're planning on having a bunch of people here, probably till the 4th or something like
Or
that.
on Saturday, there's going to be vendors
Okay.
and food. at
So
the pool.
I am for filling, and this will just further discussion on not making a motion. I'm for filling the pool starting on Friday, and filling the pool into Saturday to where it can be used at Saturday morning upon opening, and extending that through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Tuesday is July 4th. I'm only comfortable 4 days, and only comfortable with the fact that Randy has said that he will, quote unquote, shock it, put chlorine in it, and that they will monitor it. And then upon 4th of July, that Tuesday, it would close down at the end of the day. And then I don't know how long it takes. It's not very long. It's probably not more than 48 hours for the chlorine to dissipate. It would be measured. They have chlorine. He used the word. Well, we're going to call it a chlorine gauge. But they have gauges to measure to make sure there is no chlorine present in the water before it's discharged into the creek, which would essentially make it pure groundwater. That's where I'm at as a board member, so we can kind of discuss that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, well then I'll make a motion that we open up the pool effective Friday, and then we close it on Tuesday afternoon on 4th of July. And be filled up by Friday. Open.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
People like to swim on Friday night. So I'm saying that it'd be filled up, maybe ready to go by Friday at 6, it's tentative, and then we close it down 6 o'clock on Tuesday.
It usually fills by then.
I'll second that motion.
Do it with the parameters that we're,
With the parameters that Randy is monitoring it and making it as safe as possible.
all in favor? And we do take donations.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to donate towards the $600, we're not gonna turn you away.
Just see Julie about it.
Just see Julie. All right, this one is accounting invoice. So we have an invoice for Newsome for Randy, the previous accountant in 21, that was discovered. I don't know how I really want to say that. That Mr. Peterson had been sitting on. So this is for services in 2021 before we canceled those services. So, and I have a letter canceling it. So these monies are due.
Okay, have you spoken with him?
You familiar with the discussion on that issue? On nuisance invoice?
No, because there's nothing.
We have no history of it. We don't
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Don't pay it. All the same amount of money was. paid
Jim,
to-
hold on a second. Are you talking as someone who knows absolutely all the facts regarding this issue? Or you know part of
I
it?
know what happened. Okay, what happened
Okay.
is that.
Will you please use the microphone?
Sorry, guys.
OR&W was the auditor. Newsom was supposed to be the accountant. They sent Randy Galloway, who was an accounting clerk, to do the financial statements. The financial statements were forever a mess, absolute mess. You paid a fortune for nothing, paying him about $20,000 a year. Newsom is a CPA, was her firm, and she should have been supervising Randy. She was not. And so Jerry at OR&W had to do all the accounting work, which was just it's a violation of accounting policy. Not just a violation, but a legal issue, that the auditor cannot do the accounting work. And Teresa at OR&W, who took over from Jerry, had to do all this accounting work. Alan, of course, we paid OR&W additional money for doing the accounting work that Newsom should have been doing. So Alan refused to pay the bill and said, "Go ahead and sue me, and we'll take it. Be glad to go to court with you." Please don't pay that bill. You do not owe them that money. And if we have to call in the people from OR&W to testify to the fact that the financials were a mess and that they had to do the accounting work, then let's do that.
Okay, thank you for that insight. Okay, so we see further steps on this.
Yes, because there is no documentation of that conversation. There's no emails. So yeah, obviously, because this is almost, I'm sorry?
Did they ask for payment?
Yes. So, this is almost a $9,000 bill. And the only documentation, emails that I've scoured through is just the letter that was sent to them requesting to sever our relationship with them, and that we had not received an invoice for at least 10 months, and then an invoice came. So we will definitely have to research it then, because, yeah,
Did the
that's
invoice
not
come-
documented anywhere.
Did the invoice come after Mr. Peterson left?
It came in May, I think. So I don't know if it was before or after, because we found it after, so. And he had, and the board has had no knowledge of that. If that was for 21,
Is that the day we got it then?
no, that was, it came before that. So, okay, so that's something we have to look into. So, we'll just table that.
Okay,
So the next one may get tabled also. We received a invoice from Water Energy, which is the, where we purchased the washer, the commercial washer and dryer for the motel almost 2 years ago, and then there was a long wait time because of all the shipping issues. The board's understanding was that was paid in full, and it was not. All but the $5,000 for the ozone treatment part of it was not paid until that was installed recently. So that bill is $6,000, or almost $6,000, $5,400. But after a discussion yesterday with the managers, that part of the system doesn't seem to be working right. So I would suggest that we table this until, and hold this over them until they make sure the system's working right.
Yeah,
And train the employees.
It may seem kind of weird that some of this is on the agenda, but I know that we're getting a lot of questions about and meeting with the managers like, yeah, well, the grass isn't mowed, there's all these things that are happening, and I think it's really important that the membership know that we're dealing with a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have to be dealing with, and on the employee side and on this side, and that's not just one person's fault, not blaming anybody, but there's just a lot of little things going on. So we're trying to help everybody understand where we are, and that everybody up here is working their butt off.
And to be as transparent as possible so that, the membership knows what's going on. So we'll table that. The next one is a bid process.
Okay, we are going, Property Code 209 changed a couple of years ago, and it requires a bid process to be adopted for anything that's a capital improvement project over $50,000. So if we had done the pool restoration and it was $50,001, we would have had to get by law, we would have to get 3 bids, and then we can select from those bids, who we like or who would do the best job. And then there's certain manners in which you can get bids. You can get sealed bids, you can get bids that are low bid qualified. You could just go with qualified or best bang for your buck bids. So the reason, one, it's being mandated by law that we do this, and we're acknowledging that by having on the agenda that we're going to adopt a 3-bid process, and that we acknowledge that there will probably be in the very near future some bids that will be over $50,000, like the landfill, which will be significantly more than that. And am I wrong? And we only had 2 bids on it?
Correct.
Okay, and this would be a perfect example of a violation of 209, where we only had 2 bids on the landfill, but we're required by law to have 3. Okay, and that the purpose of that is to ensure that contracts are not going to friends and family, that there's not ethical boundaries being broken, and that the membership's being as represented by the contractors that are putting in for this as possible. It's the same bid process that the state uses, that most counties use, the government uses. We know we can't trust them, but at the end of the day, this bid process is coming downhill into the micromanaged side of the state mandating that HOAs have to have it for that same reason. So the reason it's on here is just to inform everybody that we understand that, we're acknowledging it, and we will have a bid process to be voted on by the next meeting. Yes, sir.
What happens if you only get 2 bids?
Well, you know what? Lisa asked me that same thing, and that is a great question.
You cancel the project?
No. But I guarantee you I can call a company in Georgia right now, and I can say, hey, I got a project for you in Brackettville, Texas to do a landfill, and they're going to give you a bid. It may be $4 million, but they're going to give you a bid. So this idea that we can't get 3 bids because we live in Brackettville, it just doesn't hold any water. And the state seems to think so too. So I'm not saying that the end result would be any different. We'll just say there's Tim Ward, there's a gentleman in Del Rio. I don't know this. I'm just hypothetically speaking, right? We got a hometown crowd, we've got a Del Rio crowd, and we've got a San Antonio crowd. Okay, and we get 3 bids from those people. I mean, obviously, San Antonio guy's probably not going to be the lowest. You know, there's a high probability of that, but it still does not diminish our obligation that the state's asking us to meet, which is to find 3 bids. And it's only for things exceeding $50,000, which a lot of people in here know more about where the board has been and the fort's been than I do, and I don't know how many times that's actually happened. So it's not going to happen tomorrow, and it's probably not going to happen 20 times in the next 5 years, but it is something that we have to do.
I understand. Thank you. So, related to that, just your statements about the landfill. And I heard on the grapevine that you renewed the loan with Bank and Trust for the letter of credit.
Well, it's a surety bond. TCEQ requires that we have a surety bond in place, and essentially what that.
You borrowed money from the bank to buy the bond.
Is that correct? Is that how that works? Okay, my understanding of the surety bond, and there's probably people that I don't know much about this. My understanding is that if we defaulted on the landfill, if we had a problem per se, we had a leak, say the dozer flipped over, diesel got all over the place, oil went everywhere, and we had some kind of major catastrophe that TCEQ came in and said, hey guys, y'all got to clean this up. Well, because we're an HOA and we're nonprofit, they don't know whether we can be assured to have $150,000 to clean that mess up. So it's an insurance policy to say, you know, you have the money to fix most problems or accidents in the event that something happens, and we're assuring that that would happen with that policy. That's my understanding. I could be completely wrong.
No, that was very good, very close. Where did you sign the document? Was it over at?
No, we're still in the process. We have not.
So Lisa can probably give you.
Who's selling you the bond?
Well, okay, this is what we're going off. We found out that Mr. Peterson canceled the bond. TCEQ requires the bond. So we're working with Bank and Trust, who was
You are working
previous.
with Bank and Trust.
Yes.
So what you're gonna do, and you can look at the permit file for the landfill if you like, and see that you're borrowing money to buy the letter of credit from the bank, which is one of the forms that the state will accept. So you're incurring a liability. And interesting, you know, in the accounting perspective, is that that loan has never appeared on the financial statements.
Okay.
You're over my head.
But not the president's.
So what you're saying is
I'm trying to understand that. Sorry.
So what you were saying is when we were paying the bond previously, we were borrowing the money.
Yes, you were paid 7%
Okay,
interest.
and the person in charge of the P&Ls and everything else failed to put in that liability into the paperwork, correct?
Correct.
So that person, who's no longer here, failed to do that,
Who are you referring to?
the former GM.
It's
The
not
bond's been around
not
for
the
years.
county.
Huh?
The bond's been around for years.
Okay, well, but he's just saying that it wasn't on the paperwork on the P&L.
It's not been shown on the paperwork
Well then,
because
we'll start putting it in the paperwork. I appreciate that information.
it's a letter of credit, letter of surety, and we are only charged interest and stuff on it if we actually have to use the bond.
It's a note there.
It
And
just
with the
sits
note,
there.
we buy the letter of credit. Letter of
Yeah,
credit
we
goes
need
to
to
the
back up
state.
that.
With the note, and
But we
the
have
annual
never
letter of
paid
credit
interest on it.
should be on the balance sheet. And it's never been on. And it far dates.
Go and talk to the
I
bank.
entered-
All right, we'll talk to the bank.
Okay.
And they'll give
Yeah,
you-
we're not finished with the process. I have a meeting with the accountant and to make sure that and I'll meet with the bank.
Who, did the state contact you about the bond?
I-
How did you find out about the bond? What happened?
She notified us.
Well, I notified them because, you know, it was something that I wasn't sure if it was correct or not. So I asked about it, and yes, we are supposed to have it, and it was canceled. So we are in the process of working on getting it back.
So they did cancel the bond.
It was canceled, and then we
It
could
was
not,
canceled by Mr. Peterson.
we could not put We could not dump trash in the landfill because we did not have it.
So we are using the roll-off dumpsters to do our trash and not the landfill until this is cleared up.
Who told you you couldn't dump?
TCEQ.
Ah,
How mu-
I was wondering when they were gonna come in with a picture.
May I ask what the cost of a cell at the dump is at the landfill?
We don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
we're still in
working
the
on it.
process of that,
Because
so.
the last, years ago, it was like 50,000 for a cell.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that now, but.
Yeah, and I
but-
figured, that's why I asked the question. I was
Yeah, and
wondering how
that, we'll have more information on that down the road,
much. Okay.
as to what that is before we ever get to that point, because right now, it's just, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is TCU coming out to visit?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet. We have a contact there that we're working with. He's given us so much time to get this under.
Which contractor?
I don't know his name. Sherry's been.
Oh, Sherry's working.
Sherry's got the contact name, but we do have contact there that we're
Okay.
working with.
That letter of credit covers 2 disturbed acres, as you were talking. It's for reclamation of the pile once we're done with it. But it's rolling. You had 8 cells there going all the way down. So what we have is probably another 70 years worth of landfill available to us. That bond allows you to disturb, and you can see this in the permit. If you look at it, try and stick with the mic here.
Can you please introduce yourself, because I believe there are people that don't know who.
Pardon?
Can you please introduce yourself to the,
No.
the group, because I think there are people that don't know.
Jim Reyes.
Thank you.
So that bond allows you to have 2 acres of disturbance. The people who've been filling the facility drifted off that 2 acres. So you now have about 3 acres that has been disturbed. I'm assuming that TCEQ, if they come out and pay attention, they're going to notice that you have, the fort has filled past that level, and that will change the bond amount, they will, until whoever's out the contractor can straighten out what's happening there. The filling has not been done in a manner in compliance with the permit. So there are number of issues that have to be addressed. I'm gonna guess when you're done, this is gonna be about $400,000. So it's a good thing we got that money from the ECR.
Jim, just out of curiosity, since you have a lot of knowledge regarding the landfill, how long were you in possession of all this information that we're just learning today? Not that it's your responsibility to tell everybody, but obviously, by what you're telling me is, you and Mr. Peterson were aware of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the 3 acre, we came up with about 2 months ago. I picked that out.
In April?
So, I know you have great animus to Mr. Peterson, but. and I
That's
do
your
not,
opinion, sir.
but-
That's your opinion.
No, you demonstrated repeatedly.
Oh, no,
I'm
that's your
sorry.
opinion. I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
stop. That's enough. Okay.
Mr. Race, could you please explain how you volunteered and why you have such personal information? Like you're volunteering in the office, how you're aware of what your background. Just a little bit, because there are people that don't know you at all.
We're encouraging you. This is really good information. I mean, thank you. This
Oh, wait,
is
for
good information.
Sugar Company, we own a coal mine in Oklahoma, surface mine. I can run every piece of equipment that the Ford owns. We've done permitting, I've built landfills with the equipment we had. And I've been in accounting the whole time. Also, CFO was my last position of a $60 million company in Denver.
And you're volunteering in the office for how long? This past year at least?
Well, until last month when I was prohibited from entering the office.
I never stopped you from entering the office if you're looking at me.
So anyway, we moved here 4 years ago. Wanted to look at the financial statements. I was on the board for 2 weeks after the insurrection. And at that time I got a chance to look at the financial statements, and I asked for the audited financial statements when we moved here, and there were none. The last one was over 2 years old. So what's going on here? So accounting background, to start looking into it. They wouldn't. I was not allowed to look at the financials in the accounting system. No, you're not allowed to do that. So I got on the board, and when I was on the board, I got to look at the financial system, and I saw what a mess it was. So that started me on a crusade for 3.5 years trying to get the financial committee started, because the board did not want to hear about the financial committee, and the general manager did not want to hear either. And I couldn't get through to them on the errors that Randy was making on the financials. And finally, when I got here, one of the first things I noticed was that you had about 700,000 in receivables. I know we're getting technical here. That means that the people paying their assessments, both the memberships and the residential, were not paying them for 9 months. I said, this doesn't look right. And so I went through once I got access, I went through the system, and I saw that the actual receivables should be somewhere in the 60,000 to 100,000 range. So the receivables are vastly overstated. I called Jerry at OR&W. I said, what's going on here? And he said, oh yeah, but everything's in the black system and all that kind of problems with the black system and this, that, the other. And I said, well, that needs to be corrected. He said, okay, we'll start. He started doing $250,000 per year, which of course is $20,000 a month, which Randy picked up on. And so then he started making these entries, and finally in the third year, he needed to cut back to $10,000, but he didn't know what he was doing, so he was charging $20,000 per month in bad debt. And as you know, people used to come up here and grab the mic and say, well, that's not real money. That's we subtract that out. Well, the $10,000 was a real expense. The $20,000 was not. So $10,000 was a mistake. I pointed that out to Alan, and Alan thought he was an accounting expert, and he wasn't. And so finally I said, well, I'll just wait. This is when this hits the point. We hit the breaking point when the accounts receivable went negative. And at that point, I sent Alan a letter, and I told him that I would like a refund because the accounts receivables gone negative. That means you've overbilled me for my assessment, so I want my money back. And here's why. And he looked at it, oh, now I see you got a mistake. So that's when we got the finance committee started, which converted the receivables over to QuickBooks from the old black system. The old black system still exists because there's so many colonial lots in it that they're going to exist forever. They'll never go away. Then we went into active conversion of the accounting system, and of course we ended up out on the East Coast, and our daughter-in-law died, and so then what became a basic trip turned into a long trip, and the only thing I couldn't make contact with the folks back here, so I asked Chris to help me with the project, because there was about 3,000 customers and assessments and memberships that need to be converted into the QuickBooks system. And so we started working on that, and it took us about 2 months to get it completed. Fortunately, I had Chris with me, because for every entry that I was making, this was all clerical entries that had to be made. She was making 3 to every one that I made. But we now have our receivable system fully converted over into QuickBooks Online. And one of the good things about that is the productivity increase over the black system. The black system is a software piece from the turn of the century. You know,
Okay,
it's-
I think we're kind of getting
It's,
off.
I'm coming back. I'm coming, circling around on you.
Because I've lost where we're supposed to be now.
We're to the point where we got a productivity increase, substantial productivity increase, particularly in the payment receipt side, because QuickBooks applies the payments automatically, whereas each time the black system, you had to go into each one of the separate accounts and apply it. The net result, unfortunately, we lost a good person. Allison quit on, whatever reason, and she's working for Todd Tate now. But the bottom line to the fort is that with her wages and her overhead, somewhere it's about $20,000 to $30,000 savings. And without her present there, everything is still running smoothly in the receivables part of the accounting system. So the cost, if I was billing you for what we did in that period, about 6 months, would be $30,000 donation to the fort. Additionally, there's about a $30,000 savings each year because it's going to take one less employee now to run the accounting system. So in 10 years, it'll be $300,000. In 20 years, that'll be $600,000 on savings. But it's a consistent $30,000 savings per year converting it. That's how I got involved in it.
Thank you.
But then they said, the landfill is full. We can't put any more material in it because it won't compact. And I said, well, let me take a look at it. I'm familiar with it. And so that took about a year to get a look at it. Just hounding. I finally got to look at it, and that's when we started discovering. I said, well, where's the permit? Let me look at the permit because that's my expertise. And so look at the permit, blah, blah, blah. That's where we are here. So I'll end it.
Thank you. That's a lot more information than we've ever gotten. So thank you for your service and your volunteering. Well, that gives us some new things to look at.
Right. All right, so we're on to Unit 3.
Oh, yeah,
Give
we're
me
gonna,
a quick, just,
okay, I know there's been a lot of people on Facebook, correct me, what's the others? Discord? Talking about Unit 3, and it was something we meant to put on the agenda. I'm not an expert on it. I think there's somebody in here that is. But we just want to acknowledge that we're aware of Unit 3. We discussed it in the managers meeting yesterday. And we came out with some good data points there. Philip said that on what we kind of estimated is on the average, it would take about 60 yards of a dumpster to get rid of the houses. So our next steps on that is to figure out what the fort owns and then what we can do about it as far if we own it, get the water turned off, electric turned off where it's safe to dispose of, and then figure out some solutions here. I know that, I think my wife told me at one point there was like over 100 people that had commented on it, and that's a significant amount of people in bracket or on the fort to comment about one specific issue. So I know it's been ignored for a little while, and I don't think that Mr. Peterson ignored it. I think we picked up some details here and there, like he didn't like the trash being out there. He would pick it up even though nobody was paying for it and stuff, and the pressure that Discord and Facebook was putting on him spurred him into action to do some stuff, and so I don't think that it'd be real easy to say nobody cares about Unit 3, but we do, and we're gonna, whether it's through volunteers or with our own resources, we're gonna figure out a way to try to clean some of those things up at the fort. I think we have an obligation to do that. I mean,
Fort properties.
Yeah, fort properties, we have an obligation. And then in the ones that are out of compliance, and correct me if I'm wrong, like with the architectural committee and stuff like that, I mean,
we're gonna start getting fined.
yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a red tape process that we'll have to go through. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. Just know that we're aware of it and that it's something that's been going on since I was a kid. So, I mean, it's been there a long time.
I mean, I would say that, quite quite a number of those lots might be purchased quickly if there wasn't a shithole mobile home sitting on them.
Right, right.
Yep,
So
you're absolutely
we didn't put it on the agenda, but we just wanted to talk about it as far as, we have talked with the managers about what we think it'll take resource-wise, and that we're working through some steps to try to figure it out.
Very good, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Yes.
I need to discuss it too.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings us to the board vacancy. We have two contenders. We decided we'll do Beyond Thunderdome, you know? 2 people enter, 1 leaves. Whoever it is, that's who we'll take. No, I'm just So, Sandy Hagan is one of the candidates, and I don't know how to say, is it Tony?
Just call me Tony.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Hackerbill.
Hackabill, okay.
Can you go
I
by
was
just
saying
call me Tony?
Hackabill, so I'm gonna get it right.
Been worse.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Do either of y'all want to go over your work history? You rather not?
Do you want to say a
Or
few words, or?
does anybody want to say anything? Or?
It was published, we published.
It was
on-
published.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I've looked at both of these. Do y'all have anything to add? Say, think? Does anybody have anything?
No,
to say?
I don't.
Okay. Because we do have some unfortunate bad actors in our community, I want to ask Mr. Hackabill a question. Did I or anybody on this board invite you, call you, have any communications with you whatsoever to put your resume in for a board member?
Absolutely not. I discussed it with my wife, gave it great thought, and decided it's something that I would like to offer. I hadn't talked to any of you before I sent my resume.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I make a motion to appoint Tony Hackabill to the open board position. If I can get a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Should I make a comment now?
You get this.
So those of you that don't know me, I am Tony Hackerbill. My wife and I own a property in Unit 1. What may not be accurately reflected on the resume that was posted is that I currently do a lot of work in Kinney County now. I work for the County Attorney's Office. I am an old retired district attorney. Some colleagues of mine got together and decided to recruit me to come help the young county attorney here in Kinney County with the problem that we have with illegal immigrants coming in. It doesn't matter how you feel about that. I'm not here to promote what I'm doing. I'm not here to discuss or debate or try to discount what it is I'm doing. It's a job. I take it seriously. I do the best I can. One day, I invited my wife, and this has been months and months ago. I started in February the 15th of 2022. I invited my wife to come with me to work. She spent her time in the fort. She had never been to the fort. I've been swimming in that swimming pool since the late 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. I'm very familiar with that aspect of it. She became more familiar with the fort, and after we were driving home that day, she said, "We need to buy a place in the fort." My initial reaction was, "Are you kidding?" But it became apparent to me that as much time as I spend in Brackettville, it's a nice place to have a place to stay, and I don't have to drive 70 miles back home each day. Once we did that, I then focused my interest on this. And I have to say, and I don't know how all of you are going to take this, but I want to commend the board and all of you in this room for the posture you've taken in this meeting today, because I want to tell you that last meeting I came to was a wreck. And I would like to encourage you to keep the discussion that you're having like today. I promise you that every decision that I make as a member of this board will be as transparent as it can be. But I also promise you that I will make certain decisions, whether they're part of the majority of the board or not. I will make decisions that's going to make some of you mad. I've been a lawyer for 40 years. I'm not here to offer legal advice. I won't offer legal advice. But I have an opinion, just like most of you, about everything. And I can tell you that every time a decision of any significance is made, whether it's as a board or whether it's individually, it makes somebody mad. And if that doesn't happen, then you're not thinking about it, you're not doing your job. I look forward to serving all of you. I have a vested interest in this place, not just because I own a house here, but because I think this is such a tremendous asset to this community. There are ways to improve that don't step on toes. It's going to always step on a few toes. But I'm excited about being a part of this, and I certainly would be open to discussions with any of you at any time. I think my telephone number is on the resume. My cell phone is in my pocket most of the time. I try to turn it off at night when I go to sleep, but sometimes that doesn't work. I intend to participate to the fullest extent possible, and I want you to know that I care about this community. I really have grown to appreciate what's happening here, and I want to make sure that all of you are comfortable. It may not happen every day. The last thing I would say is, unfortunately, I can't stay much longer today. The little church that I attend in Hondo, Texas is sponsoring a community event called the Community for Our Kingdom. And I happen to be part of the musical side of that presentation. And if I don't get out of here pretty quickly, I'm going to miss my spot on the stage. Not that they would be missing a whole lot, but I promised that I would participate in it, and I'm going to go do that today. But thank you to the board, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Just where you've been.
Ah.
You don't have to sing while you're swearing.
No,
Please.
I need to stop talking so I can sing
We
later.
might find further volunteer opportunities if you sing.
I know you're used to taking notes, so just follow me. Number I and signature. I
I, Tony Hackabill,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold and support
that I will uphold and support
the declarations of protective restrictions,
the declarations of protective restrictions,
bylaws and regulations
bylaws and regulations
governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs.
governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will represent the interests
that I will represent the interests
of the membership
of the membership
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am?
We have another seat,
Yes.
and this was advertised in dispatch for 3 weeks?
For this seat?
Yeah.
Yes.
And how many people applied?
2.
And we have another seat seat in a second person here, so why aren't we dealing with it?
Well, for one, it's a completely different term. It's only 8 months.
Let her finish, please.
And the process that we used for the one vacancy was fair. So I don't see any reason why we don't use the same process for the second vacancy, because there may be more people that might be willing to do 8 months. So we opened it back up.
I mean, Linda, would you agree that the process to appoint Chris Race was agreeable, and that the process for this was agreeable, was fair?
Yes.
So then how would it be fair for you to resign on Sunday? Did it close on Monday?
Sunday she resigned.
No, Monday, did it close?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that there was one day for a new board seat to be open, one day.
Well,
But
I don't think that's the point. The point is you had two people who applied.
Well, that's the point that you would like to make, and you've lost that right, you're not on the board. So.
I have a right as a member to ask the question.
Sure, and I'm trying to answer.
Okay.
There was a 3-week process to appoint a board member for this position. There was a 3-week process or so to appoint Chris Race to her position. We can agree that that was fair. So there needs to be another 3-week process, which does not prohibit Sandy from putting in for that as well. But the fact that there's members out there, and I'm on a 3-year term, and it's daunting at the moment, the thought that there's members out there from another fairness perspective that might say, you know what, I can do 7 meetings. I can do anything for 7 meetings. It is a whole entirely different dynamic than saying I got to do 36. So if it's not fair from the perspective of, well, I don't agree with 3 weeks, but I agree, then we should be able to agree that there might be more people that would be wanting to do it for 7 meetings. And that there's membership. I can guarantee you that there are membership that did not apply because they did not want to do it for 1 year and 8 months. But the idea that 7 months might be much more palatable for other members of the board. And that is fair to the membership.
I hate to say this because I don't want to be cruel, but I think it smacks of putting the people you want, the person that you want on the board.
But it's open for anybody to apply. What are you talking about?
And it was open for anyone to apply, and no one but the two of them applied.
For one position. So are you saying, are you...
That other one just came
So
available.
let me ask you a question, Linda. Did you resign so that you could ensure that the person you wanted on the board could be appointed?
No, I just don't, I did not want to, and you can't put words in my mouth. That is not true. But it became that now you could fill 2 and be a full board and go to work. But see, we have people here in the audience who don't want Sandy Hagan, whether they have to work with her.
I'm going to have to withdraw the commendation that I made earlier because this.
It's here, Mr. I don't know your last name, so I don't.
Just say Tony.
Okay, Tony. It's here, and you're going to have to learn to work with it. And as I had to learn to work with it, and just decided I couldn't deal with it anymore. So I just want you to know, be prepared.
No, I understand that. What I referred to previously about the meeting that I saw that I was rather disappointed in.
You were, I was.
It was because there's a lot of lashing out and making personal accusations and criticism. There's no place for that in the administration of a board function.
Absolutely.
Now I can tell you that if I sit on this board, as I intend to, I intend to make comments anytime something like that happens. And if I may call you Linda,
I'm not latching
John's explanation seemed to make sense that the position was advertised for. Ms. Hagan and I submitted our offers. And then a new vacancy occurred, so you do the same thing to allow others who choose to get on the board to apply. That makes total sense to me. We're being transparent, we're being open, we're making sure that everyone has the same opportunities.
Well, they had it 3 weeks ago.
But that was for one position.
With a different
3 people could have put in for one position,
That-
5 people could have put in for one position.
Yeah, and one person would have been appointed.
Right.
Whether it was me or anybody else.
Linda, we wouldn't have to appoint anybody here, you're not resigned.
That's not the point, that's
Well,
not the
I mean,
discussion we're having.
No, but
No.
you're making a big
I'm
deal.
just saying, you have this person who has a lot of experience and would be helpful to you.
I don't deny that. I have no comment on that at all. My point is, and I was caught totally unaware until this discussion. But it seems to me that the board is doing their due diligence and being transparent and saying, okay, folks, now we have another position. Let's open it up and advertise for whoever wants to apply. And they get the same time frame that Ms. Hagan and I had in order to apply. So you do it then.
Okay, if that's the way you choose to do it, that's your, I was just making the point, you could have a full board and go to work with a full board.
Yeah.
But there's people in this audience who don't want that to happen.
We want that to happen.
Thank you for your opinion, Linda, thank you.
You're welcome.
We want
And
that to
I'm
happen.
happy, sir, that you are on the board, and I think you're going to be a great asset.
Well, I hope so. I give you my word. I'm going to do my level best for the fair administration of everything that goes on in the fort that I have something to say about. I have to add one more comment about the fact that things that it appears to me, and as a result of listening to the meeting so far today, it appears to me that the board is having to undertake things to get things done for one reason, and that is you don't have a general manager. So hopefully you can get applicants for that position who will then assume those duties and take the pressure off the board for the daily operation of the fort. I hope that happens, and I hope it happens soon.
Yes, sir.
We do too.
Yeah. So with that said, may I be excused?
Yes. Thank you.
Announcements, July 1st, vendors at the pool. Recycle will be closed on that Saturday, and July 4th, fireworks, weather permitting. Is there any other announcements?
St. Mary Magdalene is going to have a chicken plate sale on Sunday at noon. Everyone's welcome to come buy a plate for $10. Chicken and all the fixings. Tomorrow at St. Mary Magdalene Church. Thank you.
Do you have an announcement?
I apologize, I can't change my but I have a
Well, we can,
It's not an announcement.
well, yeah, if we can hold that, we really need to adjourn.
Things that I discussed with Mr. Peterson that the membership would probably want to know.
Well, he's not here anymore, so it doesn't
Well,
matter.
of course, but
Well, I
it's
think-
pertinent to the membership. I mean,
Well, we can't do that. It needs to come in an email, we can address it
Yeah.
as a member concern, or.
If it comes in an email, so that we can address it as a member concern,
it's not
and discuss it at
concern, but
the-
I think you guys should know that the 40th year of the golf course is getting ready to come on. And I was working with him on it to get it rededicated to the PGA, because my grandfather was a PGA pro, and he said, well,
I'll tell you what, let's just adjourn and come up here and have a 5-minute conversation with us, and we'll go into executive session.
All right, it's 11:33, and we are adjourned to executive session.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today.
All right, it is, I don't have my phone,
3:25.
3:35.
3:35, and we are back from executive session, so I gotta write that down. All right, we are voting. Does somebody have a motion for the superintendent?
You interviewed, you make a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Max Wilson to be the new golf superintendent on a 1099 basis.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Unanimous. And next, the regular meeting is July 15th, 2023, right here in the boardroom. We are adjourned. What time is it? 3:36?
3:36. Can you come here?